All right. So welcome to Cooking Fun with Joanna. I am your host, Joanna Hodorowska, Nutrition in Motion. I am an intuitive nutrition therapy coach, helping you optimize your health and performance so that you love your body and your life. And part of self-care and taking care of you includes fun recipes to cook. And actually just cooking in general so that you can take care of yourself and you can actually learn how to do things a little bit differently. So this week we are making stuffed orange peppers. I wanted orange, so I wanted the sweet peppers. But stuffed peppers with eggplant. Oh, nice, you got both colors. Eggplant and I have grass-fed ground beef.
That's the same thing we have.
That's what we got.
Yeah, and then, you know, and for anybody who's vegetarian, then they can use the Beyond Burger, because I tried the Impossible Burger one time, and I will never suggest that one.
I couldn't find bison.
It's not easy to find, but, you know, grass-fed is the next best thing. The bison will just, look at that, good job. The bison might be a little bit more gamey and a little bit more lean, but not that much in comparison to grass-fed beef. Because the grass-fed beef has the nice yellow peppers. The grass-fed beef has actually a better essential fatty acid profile, so it's not inflammatory like the regular beef is. Because the cows eat grass. That's the whole idea. So if we eat more greens, then we'll also have a better cholesterol profile and better health. So the recipe calls for obviously a pepper or two, a couple of these eggplants, and I found these smaller ones, so I'm using 2 of them. I'm only going to make one pepper because it's only one of me. I don't know if I want 2. I like the stuffing so much because I've made this like 3 times last week. You're going to have an onion, you're going to have the beef, garam masala, cumin powder, salt and pepper. Oh, you're supposed to put coriander and turmeric in it too. I guess I got to go get the turmeric.
We have coriander?
No, that's what I was going to ask for since we don't have the coriander.
Oh.
I have cumin.
Well, we need cumin.
I'm going to use the actual root and chop some of that into mine.
I got turmeric.
And then there's garlic. You're going to do 2.
Joanna,
Yes?
I don't have coriander, so can we substitute the cumin for the coriander?
If you don't have the coriander, then don't use it at all.
Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't.
Okay.
It's not gonna make or break the recipe. It's actually really good even without it.
Okay, because I just had cumin instead, so.
Well, we're using cumin as well.
Yeah, I told you we're using cumin.
Well, it didn't have
Already
it
has
in.
cumin in it. But if you want to add more, sure. But we're gonna have a couple cloves of garlic as well.
Cumin on there.
Yeah, I
I
don't see the
got
cumin.
powder.
So you'll use the cumin.
And I think, did I mention to you that we also are using ginger?
Yes.
Yes.
So we're gonna be using fresh ginger. So lots of fun stuff today. And it's all gonna be flavorful. So the first thing you wanna do is turn your oven on. And I want you to turn it to 350 or 375. Because the first thing I'm going to do is get the peppers and the eggplant ready. And we have to roast those, and we can make the beef and we can start the rice and all that other stuff once these are in the oven, because it'll take a good 15-20 minutes, maybe a little bit longer.
Are we
So
doing rice?
what?
Are we doing pasta or rice?
Whichever you want. I'm doing the pasta. I'm gonna do the cassava.
All right, because
Cassava orzo pasta. You could do that.
We did
That'll be
rice.
fine, but you're gonna have to break it up into smaller pieces.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what I do anyway.
Okay, no problem. Then you're all set. But that only takes like 6 or 7 minutes to cook. But you do want to, since you're on an electric stove, I would at least get the water boiling.
Yeah, I'm doing that now. I already got
Yeah.
the oven.
Maybe, I mean, we can all do that. Water boiling. But I'm gonna pour I'm gonna pour a cup of water into my
Cheated.
But what we're gonna start with is we're gonna take that pepper. Actually, I'm gonna wait till Harvey is done with measuring his pasta. But just let that water boil, and that's gonna be the first thing. But you're gonna take your pepper and I don't know if this is what they call this, like a utility knife. You're not gonna,
Yeah.
Whatever's comfortable for you. For me, I can maneuver this one pretty easily. But you're going to basically just cut cut on around the edges. Because you're cutting the top off of the red pepper. So you're gonna pull this out, and I put it into my little compost pile, but you're also gonna need to clean out the inside and kind of shake it out first, and then take your knife and kind of cut the, you know what, use your fingers and pull out the extra yellows and the white part and the seeds. Because I don't think you can pick them out with your finger. I mean, with a knife. You can try, but it might take too long. So you want to get all the seeds out of there. I'm not sure the seeds are actually easily digestible. And you're gonna get a cookie pan or a cooking sheet, and I put a piece of foil on top of it already. So I'm going to lay my orange pepper on there. And then I'm going to take my knife, and I'm going to switch knives. I'm going to now switch to the big butcher knife. And I'm going to cut the top off of the eggplant. Turn it on its head and cut it down the middle. So you're going to have two halves. Very well done, Harvey. That's the perfect pepper. Now put that on the pan, on a baking sheet, and you're gonna go and cut the eggplant. So you're gonna cut the top off, and then cut it in half, and then you're gonna make 3 to 4 slits in the top of that eggplant. And then you're gonna do the same thing to the other half, and you're not gonna cut through, you're just going to cut into it. Make sense? And because I found that these eggplants were really good roasted, I'm making an extra one. Usually I only make one, but I liked it so much I'm making 2. So I'm gonna take that second eggplant and do the same thing. Cut the top off, put the eggplant on its head, and then put those 4 slices into the eggplant. Now we get the next fun part of playing with your food and putting olive oil all over that eggplant. And I will tell you right now that you have to be liberal with the olive oil because the eggplant will soak it all up. So here's my olive oil. And I'm gonna put my other 2 eggplants on top of there. And what you're gonna do is you're going to drizzle the olive oil on here, but you wanna make sure that you smear it around pretty quickly. So don't do all 4 at once. Do one half at a time. And the eggplant does soak up a lot of that olive oil, so you wanna be pretty quick. Now you're gonna be really careful and pour some of that olive oil all around the top of your pepper as well, because that one needs to be roasted. So if you do 1 pepper or 2, you're gonna put olive oil on everything. I just realized my clock is blinking from all the power outages today. And then I'm gonna put some salt, some sea salt onto my eggplant. just a little sprinkle. So these are gonna be ready to go into the oven. And they're gonna be in there for a good 20 minutes. So I am going to go ahead and put mine in. And then we get to wash our hands because we got, I don't know about you, but I got olive oil all over my hands.
Ready for your skin.
Yeah, I got spotter and lanternfly guts all the time.
Oil off. And now we're going to boil the water for our whatever pasta or rice or corn pasta or whatever we're making. I put in a
Yeah, we have pre-cooked rice already.
You already have rice made?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah,
aren't you guys even more prepared? Yeah, if you already have rice or quinoa or something like that made, that's great. Then you don't have to do this stuff. But this is easier if you just kind of let it cook while we're making the other stuff.
Now,
So
we just put salt on the eggplant, correct?
To put my orzo, my cassava orzo pasta in.
We just put salt on the eggplant, right?
What?
Joanna? We just put salt on the eggplant, right?
Just a little bit of salt, yeah.
Okay. And put it in the oven?
So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the onion. We're gonna turn the skillet on. How are you gonna put yours on high if you got an electric stove?
I'm making fun of my electric stove.
No, we've got gas, so it's faster. That's all.
Sorry. Us poor people over here, we don't have gas in this part of the woods.
Yeah, well, we have gas ranges over in my house, so I want to be cognizant of those who have electric ranges, that it usually takes a little bit longer to have the elements heat up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start with chopping the garlic. I don't think there's any right way or wrong way, but I'm going to chop the garlic first. So I'm going to use my big butcher knife because that's what I feel most comfortable with. And I'm going to peel the skin off of my garlic, which is always fun. Gina, you'll be happy to know that I ordered the gizmo to peel the garlic.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. A friend of mine was having a pampered chef party. So now you're going to dice that garlic, and my suggestion is to hold on to it firmly and cut it diagonally and make sure they all slide back down together, and then you can slice it into smaller pieces. And then I usually have to flip that last piece and chop it. And then if you want to dice it even smaller, then hold on to the end of the knife and just kind of use that end. You just move the big part of the knife around and it chops the rest of the garlic into smaller pieces. So I hear my water is boiling. I'm going to pour my cassava beans or my cassava pasta into the water. And I'm going to go ahead and stir that. And I forgot to put the timer on for 20 minutes.
We're at 17 minutes.
And I'm going to turn my pasta down a little bit so it doesn't completely boil up. But now I want you to put a little bit of the olive oil and a little bit of the ghee if you have it, or a tad of butter just for flavor, into that pan that's already heated. And you know, you want to swirl it around to make sure it's evenly coated. That's always the challenge. I've got some bald spots on my hand. And I thought I was good at this part, you know? All right. So once you've got that garlic chopped up, and I'm going to chop up my second clove. And you're gonna put that in there, and we're gonna move to the onion. And dice that.
What'd you say?
Sous chef stepping in here.
The sous chef is stepping in.
Yep. I did
All right.
I did the pre-prepping.
And you know what? It's nice to have company, so if somebody else is doing it with you. Can I borrow Steve once in a while, or you?
Yeah, we just kind of alternate.
All right, so I put my garlic in there. I'm also, actually, what I'm gonna have you do first is going to be cutting the turmeric and the ginger. So I'm gonna take that root of ginger and the turmeric and just cut it into quarters. So cut it in half and then into quarters. And then I'm gonna slice it really thin, which is why you want a big knife and a sharp knife. But just be careful that you don't slice off your fingers. And here again, you can use put your hand on the far end of the knife and just move the knife around to chop it a little bit more. And then you're gonna do the same thing with the ginger.
We have turmeric powder.
If you got turmeric powder, you're gonna be using that when we put the rest of the spices in.
Okay. So just use that with the dry ingredients.
You're just gonna use that then. It's gonna be, I think, half a teaspoon or 3/4 of a teaspoon. But you're gonna use basically an inch of ginger and do the same thing where you're gonna cut it in half and then take each half and cut it in half or into quarter. And then we're going to chop it. And this one ginger doesn't chop quite as easily as the turmeric. So I'm gonna take my knife and just cut the heck out of it. Mine's not chopping at all.
Now, do you put yours in the freezer, Joanna?
I have not, but I know other people that have. It just becomes a lot wetter.
Yeah, but it's not too bad. It chops a little easier.
I think, the interesting thing is, when you start chopping and you have, this big butcher knife, there's certain parts that work better to cut.
Yeah.
So I have to actually use this part here as opposed to up here, and then I can cut through it. So throw that in there too, and give it a good stir. I think I should take mine off the heat a little bit because mine is getting a little bit too brown.
I lowered the heat on mine because it was getting a little bit too brown too fast.
Yeah, so I just moved mine off for a little bit. Now we're gonna go take the onion and cut that in half, and we're going to, and because I'm pretty much doing half the amount, I think I'm gonna do half an onion because this one's a big one. It's supposed to be 2 medium onions, and I've got a kind of a whopper. So one of the things that you want to do with an onion is, you're going to cut the end off where the root is. You're going to cut that part off. And then you're going to take the extra layers off, but you have to go down 1 or 2 layers. But I want you to keep this end intact. Does that make sense?
Yep. Holds together.
You want to make sure that skin is, how sometimes you got like that imaginary little layer of skin?
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that that's off, and I got one little teeny bit because you can't cut through that. That slides all over the place. So what I want you to do is keep that tail on that onion, and you're going to cut it in half, but not all the way through, like 2/3 of the way through. And then you're going to use the end and cut notches into it. And this is how you end up dicing it without having to make a complete mess and the thing falling apart. Now you can use the knife, hold on to it with your fingers, thumb and And it's typically the fourth finger and then the two middle ones pressing down. And then you can use that knife to chop into smaller, or however big or small a chunks of onion that you want. But I want mine pretty small. When it gets a little bit closer, I typically end up digging my nails into it so that the onion doesn't slide. But you can also hold on to that, that tail and kind of rest the rest of the onion against your knuckles.
Actually, I have a tool for the onion.
Wow.
Paper chef.
How about that? Well, a lot of us don't have these tools, so.
I think between me and Gina, we both have pretty much everything from Pampered Chef.
Well, that's why I got the garlic. I got a garlic press and the garlic, whatever thing that's called to get the garlic out of the peel off the garlic.
Yeah.
All right, so I think I have to move this a little bit closer. You can see what I'm doing better. All right, so I put my pan back on the oven. On the stove. You can tell this is live, right?
Yep.
And then you're gonna put the onions in. And you're gonna mix it all together nicely. And don't forget to check your pasta to see how cooked or not cooked it is. We definitely don't want overcooked pasta, and we don't want it undercooked either. So mine still has a few minutes to go. And we're just gonna let this saute for a little bit. And then we're gonna put the beef into it. I just realized that there's actually a lip on the edge of this beef to open it up. Look at that. There's a little tear tab here, so you can actually open the container easily. This is only like my 7th or 8th container, and I only just discovered it. Amazing the things that they do to make it easy for you. And I've been using scissors to cut through the plastic and the foil.
We're putting the ground beef in.
Stir it one more time, because you want to brown the onions a teeny bit, but just a little bit. But in about 30 seconds, we're gonna put the beef in. And it's supposed to be about 12 ounces, and I think I have a whole pound.
Yeah, that's what I have.
Container. So you can use the whole thing, or you can use 2/3. So it's totally up to you. I don't think there's a.
Well, there's 3 of us, so I'll use the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, I look at it as leftovers.
There you go.
So I'm gonna use the whole thing too, and I'm gonna dump that all in there. And then you're gonna take whatever utensil and just break it up first into some squares. And put them on their sides so that they can cook. I guess they're not really squares. They're like slices. Why not use the utensil that you're mixing with instead of the knife again? It's all going to be mushed together anyway, so this is just the start. And this is where you might have to actually turn the heat up a little bit. Just a tad bit more if you're on the gas stove. And you're probably still on medium-high on the electric stove. And this is where we get to put the spices in. we're going to be doing I think it's a half a teaspoon of cumin.
Did you say half a teaspoon of cumin?
Yeah.
Well, I can't find my half a teaspoon, so I'm going to use my 1 teaspoon and just do it half. No, this is actually a teaspoon. It's for loose tea. So I'm just going to put fill half of that up because I didn't measure it out. And this is the garam masala that I'm using. I'm just going to go ahead and sprinkle that on as evenly across all the pieces I can. And I'm going to do the same thing with the cumin.
And cumin's in, garam masala's in.
And sometimes I have to tap the thing because the steam from the meat is tempering my ability to get this out of the, you know what?
Am I putting the turmeric in?
Yes, and this is where you're going to put the turmeric powder if that's what you have.
And what about the paprika?
Pardon me?
What about paprika?
You're going to put half a teaspoon of paprika in there too. I don't think I put paprika in mine over the weekend. So a little bit of that in there. And of course, you need to put a little bit of salt in there too.
I didn't put the plant base. She hasn't gotten up there yet.
And the next thing you're going to be doing is, you know, after you put all this stuff in, I think there's pepper that goes in there too.
There's what?
There isn't, we're going to put it in anyway.
What's that? Pepper?
Turn to the fresh ground pepper. They want you to put cayenne pepper, but I don't like that. I'll just put regular pepper. And now we're going to actually mix all this stuff together, but you're going to also now break up the beef into smaller pieces. You want that to be little bits. I love this part. Like it's, you know, it smells good. Especially when you put all those spices in there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now all I can do is go, oh man, this is going to be so yummy. But I want you also to kind of like brown the beef. So I don't want you to turn it too much. I just want you to break it up. I want it to really kind of brown a little bit on the one side. Which is why I had you turn the heat up too.
Did you put tomato paste in yet?
I did not. You're putting that in. You're putting that in way late.
Okay.
That's gonna be very because we actually have to. We're gonna end up taking the pepper, not the peppers. We'll do that too. But we're gonna take the eggplant out of the oven, and we're gonna take all the insides out, cut them up, and toss them back in here, and that's when we're going to put the tomato paste into it.
Okay.
And I actually did buy tomato paste, which is in the refrigerator. So it should, your pan should be looking a little bit like this. So there's some still red spots in there. But at least
No, that's what it is. Okay.
The meat is actually broken up, and that's what I want you to see is that the meat is broken.
Her meat's still a little red.
And now I'm going to see if my pasta is ready. It is not.
Her meat's still a little red. That's what it is.
One trick I learned, you probably have this from Pampered Chef too. It's a small glass container with the rubber lid.
No.
You got something we don't have.
All right, well, you can go to the Big Lots and the Anchor, this is by Anchor, and they make these, you can buy a set of 3 of them.
Oh, yeah.
Glass containers, and they're really great. So you take that can of tomato paste, and you put it in a glass container, and then it doesn't spoil like it does in the can when you put it in the refrigerator.
Right. Or the other thing I've seen people do too is take it and either put it like a plastic baggie or actually put it in ice cube trays and make like a teaspoon or a tablespoon in an ice cube tray
Okay.
and freeze it. And then when you need it, you just pop out whatever you need.
All right. Well, that's an option too.
I've seen people do different things.
Right. And I'm kind of looking at this going, okay, there's still.
I like those little anchor bowls though with the lids.
Yeah, well, I like the lids, and the thing that's great is that they're glass bowls. I mean, I have a whole.
Yeah.
I'll show you. I have, because you need to see everything in my.
I have the big giant ones.
A whole bunch of them, and I have the big ones. This is my most popular size for leftovers, and then you can buy these lids on Amazon or on eBay when they all crack and break. So,
because I have the great big giant bowls, but not the little bowls.
Right. So now what I want you to do, if you've got the gas stove, I want you to actually turn the meat off. You can take your teaspoon of, I guess I took a tablespoon of your tomato paste and put it in now. So you can mix it in with all those juices and it'll kind of stir better. But I don't want this to be overcooked. I'm just gonna have you turn it off right now.
Like 1 tablespoon, that's like 3.
So that means if you have an electric stove, you can actually turn that off too, and it'll just kind of keep it warm for a little bit. Or you can actually remove it off of that burner, and then stir in that tomato paste so that it's as mixed in with everything as possible, as evenly as possible. So you might be stirring it for quite a bit, and with the spoon you can actually go in and break those pieces even smaller if you want to make them smaller. I have big chunks in here, don't I? I found that this was actually a really fun recipe to make, but I also just made it without the cassava beans, just the eggplant and this. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so freaking good. And I ended up making it, I think, 4 times last week. Kind of crazy. But that's what I like about these classes is, we make it, and then if you like it, you can just make it 3 more times that week.
True.
And at least it's something new, because every time it's a new recipe.
Yeah, and then you just adjust to taste.
Right. And I think my pasta is ready.
Okay, our rice is ready.
And this is what they look like. But I'm gonna put I'm gonna leave it in for another 5 minutes. That eggplant to be really soft. So that's why I was saying we have to put that in early, because there's a part here where you're not really doing anything except for waiting.
True.
And because I'm waiting, I'm going to taste test. I think that's the best part of being the chef. You get to taste test. So I'm going to taste test make sure I blow on it like 10 zillion times so that I don't burn my tongue. When you cook, it's hot.
Yeah.
So we have to make sure that, hot temperature wise is a problem. It would be a great way for helping people lose weight, because, you burn your mouth if you eat anything. But I wouldn't recommend that.
Very good.
Oh, it was so super good. Now can you understand why I just ate it? But once we put the roasted eggplant in here, it's going to be even better. So, I'm going to give that another 5 minutes to get that to really roast. Maybe I'll even turn my oven up a teeny tiny bit. Oh, you know what you could do? You could take some of your rice. I'm actually going to only use half of my cassava pasta. Isn't that pretty? Cassava pasta. Yeah. It looks like oatmeal mush. But I'm gonna use half of this in my beef. I don't need a full cup of it. I just need a half a cup. So I'm gonna put that into the beef and just kind of stir it together. If you have your rice or your quinoa or your other gluten-free pasta, you can break it up into smaller pieces and then throw that in there too. I typically recommend that if you're using a pasta, like a linguine of some kind, or spaghettini kind, that you break it up before you even put it into the pot. I hear something sizzling in my oven.
Yeah.
This is the hardest part, is the waiting for the eggplant to cook. And then the next part is we're gonna have to pull the eggplant out of the
oven.
Well, we have to take it out of the oven, but you have to take the eggplant out of its shell.
Oh, out of the skin, yeah.
And that's gonna be the challenging part. And if the eggplant isn't cooked all the way through,
it won't come
real
out.
challenge. It won't come out.
Been there, done that.
Pardon me?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, well, I've done it too, and it's just like, it's so much easier. But this is the part where you just have to kind of wait, you know. So I figured, you know what? Rather than the original recipe said, stick everything into the peppers, and then stick everything into the peppers, and then put it back into the oven. And I'm like, you know what? How about if we just cook the pepper while we're doing it, and then mix all the things together, and then put it into the pepper when you're done. And then as we're playing with the eggplant, the pepper can still cook a little bit more, make it a little bit soft, because when I did it the other day too, I just didn't put the pepper. The pepper was still, the pepper was al dente, and it wasn't quite right. This is why I play with the recipes beforehand, so that make it easier for all of you.
Yeah, my mother actually makes, what we do is you take the eggplant, the whole eggplant, whole pepper, and just roast them both, get them nice and real soft.
Right.
And take them out, peel the eggplant, and then chop everything all together. And with an onion and some vinegar and some garlic, mix it all up, and it's like a relish.
Oh, wow. That sounds good. Yeah, I think, you know, there's so many things that you can do with so many foods.
And it's good.
But it's like, okay, well, why don't we try something? One of the next recipes that I picked, I think, is with, what did I put on this? We're gonna have celery root. Going back to our roots.
Wow.
Yeah, we're gonna have chicken. We're going back to chicken, but we're gonna do something with celery root, mashed celery root and cauliflower.
That's different.
Well, you don't want the ordinary, do you?
Never. Always like to try stuff different.
Grilled eggplant and peppers, and then the rice and the beef. It's basically just like, yeah.
All right, so that's what mine looks like. I'm gonna see if it's actually where it's supposed to be. Now I'm going to use my tongs to grab one of these things. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to take the insides out. What I'm going to do is use my not my spatula. It's kind of like my spatula, but my mixing spoon utensil, and I'm just going to scrape out the insides. And if you can see, they're coming off pretty easily, and that's how you want that to be. So that all comes off nice and easy. What I want you to actually do is take the other eggplant off that off the cookie sheet and put the eggplant or the peppers still back into the oven because they still need to cook a little bit longer. Even though it looks like it's ready, it's not. Just want it to be crunchy. So you can turn the oven off if you want and just let it kind of sit in there. But now you're going to remove the insides of the rest of the eggplant. Like I said, it should be this soft so that it all comes out easily. So that was cooking the eggplant for 20 minutes at 350. And that just is beautiful.
Mine's actually a little bit too hard. Mine's a little bit too hard. Might have to put it back in.
Yeah.
All right. So am I going to be ahead of schedule then with all of you because I'm...
Yeah, mine's a little bit hard. I'm going to put it back in.
All right. Yeah, because it's if it doesn't come out easily, it's not. I mean, it'll still taste good, but might need another 5 minutes then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it also depends on. I mean, I have small eggplants, so maybe you had a bigger
So
one.
yeah, so do I. But
That probably should have on the bottom.
I had it up. I had it up on the top shelf. I should have put it on the bottom shelf.
Okay. Well, this is how we learn, right? I just put it right smack in the middle. But as you can see, originally I was going to do the stuffed eggplant, but as you can see, my shells are useless now, and I don't know how I was supposed to put anything back into it, into this little skinny, wimpy sleeve. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that ain't gonna work.
Yeah, that's not gonna work.
No, it doesn't work. So that's where I just said, okay, forget it. I just ate it the way it was with the eggplant and the beef the first time. And then I started playing with, okay, maybe I can find a recipe for something else. And then I found the stuffed peppers. I'm like, oh, there's an idea. But the idea of doing all this part and then having to put it in the oven and wait another 15, 20 minutes was just like, yeah, we're not doing that.
You give ours another 5 minutes.
So that's why I changed it so that you would cook the eggplant and the pepper at the same time. Now you can see everything's kind of long and stringy. It looks like a bunch of octopus worms, you know? So it's very hot. So you're gonna not touch it with your hands and you're gonna try to cut it with one big knife you're basically gonna dice it. But this is the challenge with, you know, food that comes out of an oven. It's hot. But you want to dice it into kind of small pieces, especially if you're going to be trying to stuff it back into the pepper. Like when I was making it just the eggplant with the beef, it didn't really matter that I had big chunks. But because I'm trying to put it back into the pepper, the idea is to try to make it small dices. I'd actually have to cut into it a little bit more.
Bell pepper.
How's everything looking over there?
Good.
Better?
Gray on the bottom. Down on the stove, and then
Oh, I'll just the oven still.
Harvey, how are you doing over there?
We're doing all right.
Excellent.
We're done.
So now that I've chopped up my
If you want to.
my eggplant, I am going to pour it into, just slide it all into the pan with the cooked beef. And so now it looks like really good slop, doesn't it? It really does. It doesn't look that appetizing, but you know what? It's really good. And so this is where you just, I'm taking the spoon that I used from the tomato paste and the utensil, just mixing it all together, turning it end over end so that I mix the eggplant in with the beef and pasta. Make sense?
Yep.
Anybody else at this point yet?
We're getting there.
Okay. So this is the true playing with your food. And it looks, it doesn't look that good when you have it this way. Now that I'm looking at it, it's just like, it needs some color. Maybe that's why I picked a yellow pepper or an orange pepper. But I am going to sneak a bite. And this is the sneaking the bite of the eggplant with the beef. Mmm. It is so good. And mine needs just a little bit more salt. And now I'm going to pull out that pepper. So that pepper is still sizzling away. And this is going to be the challenge. How to fill the pepper without burning your hands. So my suggestion is you take some tongs, grab that pepper, you're going to pour the extra liquid into the beef. And now you can see my pepper is pretty soft. And that's what you want. You want that pepper, you want it to still be a little bit firm, but you want it to be kind of caving in. That's when you know your pepper is ready. Then the next trick is to move the handle away from where you are so you can put your plate down. And then I'm going to just use a spoonful and kind of try to dump it and throw it into the inside. You can pat it down with the spoon. And voila, we are creating something yummy.
Yes.
It still doesn't have that much, color, but pretty darn tasty. All right, there it is. And I present to you red pepper, yellow pepper, no, it's an orange pepper. Orange pepper with stuff with roasted eggplant and bison. And grass-fed beef. And this one's not as easy to cut. I think you actually have to use a knife. You can't just use a fork. But that is the creation. You should probably take a picture of it because it looks so good. And how are you? Where are you with yours?
We're still getting the
Still getting the eggplant out.
Okay. I can wait for you. But this is the fun part. This is where, you get to play with your food and you get to create something really tasty. And I'm going to use my big knife that I cut the garlic with. I'm going to move my onion to the side. and all my other things. You can tell that I actually work in this kitchen, you know? But I'm going to actually cut into my pepper and give it a try. Oh, that looks so yummy. And the whole thing is going to fall apart just like it did when I cut it open. So it's definitely not delicate food. But I am going to try it. Mm. And that is really good. You definitely have to make sure that that pepper is cooked. Because this time it tastes a lot better than it did this weekend when I made it, because my pepper was half cooked.
Yeah, and it's not good.
Well, it was okay, but then the pepper took over, you know what I mean? It overtook the whole flavor. But this way, it's kind of perfect. And then the whole thing kind of falls apart. That could be another way that you could just cut the pepper in half to start with and make pepper halves. And that could be another way of doing it as well. Because as you can see, it once I cut it open, the whole thing just fell apart.
Oh, yeah, I've done that too. Yeah, we do that. I'll make the pepper in half and the stuff to half.
Yeah, and that's also another way you can do it. And it may actually have the pepper cook faster if you cut it in half.
I did that the
So
last
that
time
could be an
I
option
made.
for next time.
Yeah, I did that the last time I made stuffed peppers. I did them all in halves.
But it's definitely worth waiting for. How long does that take? So this one takes a little bit longer than usual. Usually we want to have everything ready, you know, in 45 minutes. This one is pushing an hour. But it's all good. Because we learned how to do it, right? How
Yep.
did yours turn out?
Turned out good.
Excellent.
Although I did cheat. I did cook some of it earlier today.
That's okay. Yeah, you know what? It all works. As long as we can put it all together, then it works. How are you doing, Steve? And
We're,
We're getting there.
yeah, I should have put the eggplant in at a higher temperature.
It's all right. We learn.
I got on the bottom shelf.
Well,
Hey, you
or
live
in
in
the middle.
You live in
the middle.
I think
Like put everything in the very center of the oven, then it comes out better.
Yeah, I had mine in the center and it worked out great. So
Put it over here because I have all this. I'm like
it all turns out really yummy. Enjoy the dinner. How close are you to finishing?
We're almost done.
Okay. And I can't remember what our next one is, but I just know that it's going to be some kind of chicken and it's going to have mashed cauliflower and celery root. It's something totally different. All right. Any questions? Any comments?
Throw this on top of the
All right, did great.
Awesome. Thanks for following along. And then we'll see you in 2 weeks, which is, if today's the 4th, then that'll be the 18th of August.
All right,
Enjoy.
perfect.
Awesome. Enjoy. And thank you for coming to Cooking Fun with Joanna. If you have any questions or want to find the recording, it's going to be on YouTube.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Under my Nutrition in Motion. I don't know if it's actually under Joanna Hodorowska, Nutrition in Motion, or the business or just me, but it's there. It's there. That's all I know.
Enjoy
All
dinner.
right. Have a good evening. Enjoy.
Have a good evening.